Welcome to the ISO for Growth, the podcast where we strip away the jargon and help small business owners build better, stronger, and more scalable companies through the power of ISO standards. Let's get started. Good morning, Christine.
Morning, Jenny. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad for is it Wednesday today? Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh my God, where's the week going?
Where is it going? Do you know what I could do with like 2-3 Wednesdays just rolled into one at the minute? There's so much to do.
Isn't there? But all exciting times, Christine.
It is very exciting times, yeah. Very exciting round ISOs at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, welcome to episode 3 of our ISO for Growth podcast. And for those who are listening to us for the very first time, the podcast is geared for small business owners who are thinking about whether an ISO is right for their business. And the idea of the podcast is really just to talk about certain aspects of ISO and get rid of jargon, bring everything down to the layman's terms, and hopefully our listeners will enjoy.
Yeah, and sometimes address the nitty-gritty of ISO as well. I think that's quite an important aspect of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think each episode we'll try and touch on different areas of ISO, so our listeners can really come on this journey with us.
Yeah,
that's quite
exciting times.
So I think today's episode, I really want to focus on ISO in terms of not overcomplicating it, because it can be, some may perceive it, I should say, as a complicated management system, which is what it is. But I guess because we live and breathe it pretty much every day, it doesn't feel complicated to us. So I just want to really talk about some aspects of ISO and how to, when you're implementing it, make it really lean and make it work
one
for
of
business.
the things, actually, Jenny, is... Do you think then, I've, in the past, previously, I've gone into offices and I've seen, I remember the days of thick, heavy files, ring binders, all stacked, pushed right against each other on the bookcase. So what's happened with ISO then? Has it moved away from that? What is happening with when you think about the era we're in now, how is ISO now? How is a document? Where does it sit? What does it look like now?
Oh my God, it's so different. It's so different. So once upon a time, before it was known as ISO, for example, if we're talking about quality 9001, it was called something else, and I can't quite remember the numbering of it. But it was heavy manuals. Everything was documented. It was just very paper driven.
Yes.
It was somebody's full-time job really to implement and manage. Some companies that we worked with very much in the early days would have stacks and stacks of manuals. And to be fair, some still do have that now. But when they start working with us, we strip away all of that. But to go back to how it really was, yes, lots and lots of manuals, lots of detailed around, even what was in the stationery cupboard. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
How many pens are in the stationery cupboard? It was just horrendous.
Do you know what? It's funny that I remember having to do stock takes in the pen.
Yes.
Can you count the amount of pencil sharpness a business has got?
It's absolutely. I mean, I remember one company where if you wanted a pen, you had to return your pen that you finished using. So like typically the big pens. Do you remember those big pens?
Yes.
And they had to return it to the person that was managing the ISO before they could
get a new pen.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine doing that now?
Oh, wow, yes.
21st century.
So it's a lot more streamlined now.
God.
And simple.
So the ISO really is more about making it fit in your business, not the other way around. It should work for you. So it's not about forcing the business owner or the business to create reams and reams of manuals. It's really around looking at what they've got in place already and making it fit.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely it does. And manuals are just hard work. Yeah. They take a lot of effort.
They do, and you don't even need a manual now in the new standard, although it is going to be revised, and my understanding is that you still don't need a manual.
Right.
We do encourage to have a manual, but not the really thick, the really thick manuals that they used to have. It's really just an overview of how the management system how the management system is implemented within the business. So when new people join, rather than me having to explain everything in great detail, they've got a bit of a manual, a bit of a guidance document.
Yeah,
you could call it guidance document.
Yeah.
That probably sounds like a better term.
It doesn't it?
Than actually all the detailed, you know, how many times does the phone ring? That, you know, it rings 3 times and I've got to answer it, then I've got to say so and so. That's what your manual would have probably said once upon a time. But we don't do anything like that
Not
now.
half as much detail now.
Which
makes everything a lot lighter, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
A lot lighter.
Absolutely, yes. It's very true. So it's moved more into the you know, the people that create the ISO standards, you know, ISO themselves. They're really understanding now how businesses operate, and they're really understanding that it's not about trying to bog them down with unnecessary processes and policies.
Yeah.
It's about understanding industries now, and actually I want to be able to run my business, not think I've got to write every single thing that I do down.
So then it's taking the emphasis away on running the business, isn't
yes,
it?
It is.
Which is what ISO's about.
Yes, it is. Yes, it should always be about complementing the business, not about bogging somebody down with unnecessary paperwork.
So when it comes to like a small team, right? If we think about a small team, every hour that small team spends on the admin tasks is an hour taken away from them doing their job, isn't it?
It is.
How can businesses kind of build a management system that's not complicated, given that certification, you know, given the level of certification, without the whole management system feeling like a burden? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I think it's more around, I mean, we would always start with a gap analysis, so really understanding where that business is before they get bogged down to, if you want to use the word bogged down, with the intricate details of what a management system is required to get your certificate. So starting off by doing a gap analysis and really looking at the standard. So I've got the standard, and, you know, you've got your clauses. Typically start from clause 4 and you work your way right through to I think 9 or 10, and then just cross-referencing with the business what I'm currently doing. So, you know, clause 4 will ask you something around legislation. So what legislation does the business currently have in place? So every business owner will know that already. You know, when you think about objectives, what objectives would that business have? So me as a business owner, I'll know what my objectives are, and the small business owner will know what theirs. They might, they might not have it written down, but they'll know what it is. Yeah. And so what we're doing, we're just unpicking all that information through the gap analysis, and then we then go on to implement the whole management system. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So from the gap analysis then would be your first port of call, because that goes on then to show what that business needs to do.
What the business needs to do, yes.
To come in line with the standard, to be in line with the requirements, So that's a great place to start then.
So once you understand the gaps, then you just plug in the holes.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's just say, I mentioned objectives. Let's just say, well, I don't know what my objectives are. Well, then as consultants, we would help them identify what those objectives are. Yeah. So tell me about your business, Christine. Tell me about your business. Have you thought about this as an objective? That's as an objective.
Yeah, that was going to be a question I was going to ask you, actually. Right. What if there are parts of the, we do this gap analysis for business. Yeah. We've addressed all the gaps. Yeah. We've given them a report. Yes. What about when they get that report and they think, I don't know what to do next. I haven't got this process in place. I don't know about my objectives or my risks. What would they do then?
Well, there's a number of options. You could either get some help from a consultancy company like ourselves, or you could send one of your employees on a training course to understand and how to implement ISO standards. Or you could certainly purchase the ISO standard, because it will give you all the information that you need.
Right.
And then just follow the basically it's like a guidance document, an instruction manual, and it's literally telling you what to do. So your job really is just to know where it fits. And if you don't know where it fits, then there's companies like ours out there that can
give them help.
Yeah.
So I suppose it just depends on how much knowledge that person has around ISO, whether or not they need consultants.
It does, yeah.
Or they can do it. They can go alone and do it themselves.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And I think sometimes we just take it for granted because we understand ISO inside out. And And it just makes sense, when somebody talks about the context of the organisation, it makes sense to me because I understand what the components and how that's made up.
Yeah.
But I guess it can be quite daunting for a business owner if they read that, what on earth does it mean? And actually, really read the standard and break it down. And you'll be surprised how much things you probably have in your business already that are addressing those requirements.
And as you say, there's help out there if you need
And
it.
there's help, yeah.
Help out
there's
there.
help.
So if it's something you don't understand, you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
that's what the outside companies that go in to help and support with these ISOs, they're experts at it, aren't they? So
I think the important thing is knowing how much benefit the ISO will bring to your business, and don't panic and be on your own with it because, like you quite rightly said, there's help out there. There's help out there.
So you can still have an ISO. Doesn't matter how educated you are or how much knowledge you have around it. You can have that ISO built.
You can, and also ISO shouldn't be complicated. You shouldn't implement an ISO system and feel as though it's taking me away from my day job. It's burdening me. It's a headache. It should never be that. If you've got an ISO system and that's how you feel, then the chances are you have an overcomplicated system in place, and it doesn't need to be that way at all.
So you're saying an ISO management system should be, from what I can take from this today, it should be bespoke.
Yes.
It should fit the needs of the business.
Absolutely.
And it should be streamlined, easy to understand, and easy to work with.
100%, Christine. That's absolutely right. Yes. It should be bespoke. You shouldn't be an off the shelf, just put your company name here and how many employees you've got here. And, it should reflect what you do as a business. It shouldn't just be an off the shelf, fill in your name and your address and you've got an ISO management system. If that's the one that you've got, then the chances are it's more of a burden to you than actually complementing what you're doing as a business.
So if your ISO's making you feel like it's a burden, then it's a time to maybe get some help in, have it re-looked at, freshen it up and use it to the full advantage it was made for.
Absolutely. Get someone else to give it a once-over. Get someone else to maybe do an internal audit on your behalf so they can come in with some fresh eyes and see the unnecessary bits that you have in there to make it fit you, because it's got to fit you. It's got to work. It's got to work for you.
Make it fresh so it does work for you.
Make it fresh. I like that.
Yeah, make it fresh. But it's right. That's what it should be. You should be coming into work, looking at your management system. It's a fresh system. It sits there, it brings you ideas, it brings you motivation. And helps you drive your business and take it. You can then take it to where you want it to go and it needs to go.
Yeah, that's quite right. Because your management system, as we've said in probably one of our previous podcasts, it's about continuous improvement. It's on the plan, do, check, act cycle. And so you plan, you do, you check, and you act, and it's just a cycle of continually. Can I say that right? Continuously improving what you're doing. So it shouldn't be static. It should, every year that you go through the formal assessment with your certification body, you should have seen some improvements.
And that's where the improvement comes from. Yes. So that's how an ISO management system will help you continuously improve your business, because you've got to implement the improvements to be able to get to bring your business forward.
Keep moving forward, yes. Because if you think about when ISO started back in whenever, it's changed so much over the course of time, and it's always changing. So typically as a guide, every 5 years, the ISO standards do get reviewed, and it takes them 2 to 3 years after that before they release a new revised.
Right.
And the reason they do that, because industries are changing all the time.
Yeah.
Now we're in the era of AI. And so the management systems, are silly if they don't incorporate an element of understanding how that may potentially affect a business.
Yeah.
So they do get changed and updated. So the same thing applies to your business. Why does a business want to just be static? So the management system helps you continuously look at just incremental improvements. So we're not saying to change everything that you do overnight. It's these tiny little, a bit like when we talk about our 1% in the business. These are tiny little changes that we make over a period of time that makes a big difference.
So the ISO helps a business move forward and keep up to date with today's, with the era, with the world we live
the
in.
changes of the industry. Yes,
you know, we can't stop this world changing.
No.
We can't stop industries and workplaces evolving. Where an ISO management system, then from what I'm understanding now, helps them to evolve. It helps them grow with the changes, so they're not getting left behind.
Not getting left behind, and who on earth wants to get left behind?
Exactly. You don't want to. If you don't keep up, then you have a problem on your hands.
Absolutely, yes. It reminds me really of a book I read many years ago called "Who Moved My Cheese." I don't know if you've heard.
No, I haven't heard of it.
And just ever so briefly, it's about I think it's 2 or 3 mice or some, and they've got this whole big bank of cheese that they keep gnawing at, chewing away at. And they've just got their heads down and they're just chewing away at this cheese. And then they lift their heads up one day and all the cheese is gone. And it's like, oh, who's moved my cheese? So you can kind of relate that to
get that relevance.
So it's kind of everybody puts their heads down and they're working on the businesses and they don't look up to see what's changing around them. But the ISO management system's helping us to make sure we keep our heads above, the waterline and make sure that we move with the times.
With the times, and we don't get left behind.
We don't get left behind, Not like those poor cheese who suddenly looked up and thought, there's no cheese left, what am I going to eat today?
Do you know, I remember back in the day, right, a long time ago, when desktop computers became a thing, and this is going a little bit off subject, but I find it quite relevant. When desktop computers come out, I remember so many people, I probably said it as well at some point, oh my God, I'm not getting a desktop because computers are going to take over the world. It's going to take over the world. I'm not using one. I'm going to keep my management system on pen and paper because that's what I know it works, and why should I have to change?
Yeah.
But you know what? The world did change.
The world did
change.
It has changed.
And aren't we glad we moved with it?
Absolutely.
Because if we didn't, we'd still be using one management system, pen and paper, where paper gets ruined.
Absolutely.
After a while, the paper quality, it curls up.
Yeah.
And it's horrible when it curls up. It
Absolutely.
spoils everything.
And hundreds of files on the shelves.
All the extra work.
Going back decades and decades.
Decades. And you have to keep them. You can't ever get rid of them.
Yes.
Whereas some businesses would have had to pay an extra storage room just to keep their files.
Well, they used to do. They used to do. So you'd have this whole big premises of, tiny amount of staff, and it's just got cupboards and cupboards of files.
And paperwork and things like that. So it's just going back. If we don't move if we hadn't have moved to those times in being comfortable with our laptops and our technology now, we would have been left behind and not had a business to work with.
Absolutely. And you can think about with your ISO management system now, how, when we're implementing them, when we're building them, they're going on to platforms such as SharePoint, for example. And what's your experiences on that when you're speaking to
on where you build your management system? Do you mean? Right. Well, that's really interesting. When I speak to businesses that are interested in ISO, that's one of the questions I get asked a lot. Where's this ISO management going to sit? Do I need to buy some software?
Yes.
And the first thing I always say is, no, you don't.
Yes.
The software options are out there. If you want to go ahead and get one, that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it. However, you will have to pay that monthly subscription.
Oh, yeah.
And you will have to pay that for the lifetime you are keeping your ISO management system.
Yeah.
You'll always have to pay software fees. Whereas if you let us come in and build it on your SharePoint.
Yeah.
Your cloud. They are very, very good pieces of software that you own.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay that fee. You can have your management system built on SharePoint. You own that SharePoint. You have access to that SharePoint. You know who you can give the access to, but you don't have to pay for it.
Absolutely. And then in that way as well, when you think about it, we're talking about ISO not being overcomplicated. You're not building a complicated system because some of the softwares, and there's nothing wrong with the softwares out there, that, if that's the route that some companies want to take, then that's absolutely fine. But actually, it's the software is structured in a way that might be overcomplicated for your industry. So that's always something that you have to consider. Are there unnecessary elements of that software that are not relevant to you at that moment in time? Whilst if you build it on your SharePoint, you're just building the necessary requirements on there.
What you need.
And there are
tools within that framework to help you keep up to date with
Yes,
everything.
absolutely.
But you own these tools.
Yeah.
You're not having to pay for those tools. They belong to you, not somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think, the way the systems are built on SharePoint give the business owner everything they need to keep it simple, to keep it easy to update, to keep it easy to follow.
Yeah, and everyone has access to it as well.
Everybody has access to it.
Needs access to it.
So the team are using it more.
Yes.
Because the team are familiar with it.
We're familiar with the platform already.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're comfortable with going into it and looking at how it sits because it's what they know.
It is.
It's what they know. Well, sometimes I do think once you get a new piece of tech in such maybe digital software or any kind of software, it can be overwhelming. You can look at it and you can go, oh my God, this looks like I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to press this, I've got to log in here. And it can be scary.
It can, because then you've got two elements there. You've got the fact that you've got to understand an ISO and then you've got to understand the piece of software as well. So it's two potentially overwhelming.
My advice is always build it on your SharePoint.
Build it on your SharePoint.
And own it.
And my advice is keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. Do you know, I love that. Somebody once said to me, always remember KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yes.
And that's resonated with me all through my career. Always keep it simple, stupid. We don't need big words. We don't need overcomplicated systems. It works better if it's easy to follow and keeping it simple.
And also, because it's simple, or you're keeping it simple, you're likely to want to retain it.
Of course you are.
Because it's not becoming a burden or a headache to you. So I want to retain it because there's potential in me having it. But actually, if it's taking me away from running my business and becomes a burden, then I'm likely to want to walk away from it.
Absolutely. If you think about it, if you were if you were to have to open your management system, you open your software, you open the management system, it's overcomplicated. You just want to shut it down. You just want to close your eyes, don't you? You want to close your eyes, you want to look away, and you just want to turn it off.
Yes.
Then you'll go and find something else to do. So the next time it comes up, burden's just got a bit bigger because it's getting harder and harder to address.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Very much keep it simple.
I agree. I agree. So if a business owner is only, let me just read my notes here. If the business owner is the only one who cares about the ISO system, in my experience, that's how it can fail.
Yes.
Because what's important is you involve the team with the ISO system. Everyone should have an involvement with it. Everyone should have an element of ownership with the ISO. They don't have to be the one that leads on it, but they have to have some, great communication around it. So, I don't know, let's say a non-conformance happened, an issue went wrong in the business. It's around the team coming together to understand why that problem occurred and putting some measures in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again. It's a really team involvement. I think when somebody joins a business, they certainly should be told that there's an ISO management system within the business and explained how that could impact their role or what their role involves to be part of the management system.
And their responsibility to the management system. And I think that's another reason why ISOs are good for a team, because it gives the team a sense of responsibility. Everybody wants to feel they're a little bit important in their job in their workplace because we take it seriously. So an ISO kind of, it gives them that responsibility, gives it that ownership, where they want the business to do better because the ISO guides them that way.
It does, and they feel a part of it then, don't they?
Absolutely, they do. It's not just for top management, it's for everybody. Because the team matters.
Yeah, and it's quite nice that, isn't it? Because once upon a time it was just about, one person would just manage the whole thing and it was just a shiny certificate. But now it's actually a team involvement.
It is a team involvement. Look at the way we run our management system here, our ISO. We're all very much a part of it. Nobody's scared of it because it's simple. It sits on SharePoint. We all know where to find everything. Everything's easy to maneuver, easy to navigate. And we all take pride in keeping it updated and doing our bit.
Yeah. So my advice, just to, I guess we're coming towards the end of today's episode, is really start with the gap analysis. Get this by the standard and start with the gap analysis and look where the gaps are.
Yeah.
And then start to build your management system from there. Yes.
Keep it simple. Keep it on SharePoint.
Yes.
If you can.
If you can.
Or something similar.
Yeah. So, Christine, that's the end of our podcast today. That was really good.
It was
and
really
another
good.
nice conversation.
I
love
know.
our conversations.
Yeah, we live and breathe ISOs.
Yeah,
do it. As you
do.
see, we live, breathe them. We talk about them even when we're not in here. We'll go into the office and we'll talk about ISO, what's happening next, what changes are coming into play. So yeah, it's something we do enjoy.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you for your time.
And thank you too.
Have a super day.
I will do. Thanks, Jenny.
Bye.
Bye.
That's all from today's episode of ISO for Growth. Remember, ISO isn't designed to cause you stress. It's the foundation that allows you to grow your business. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the follow button. I'll be forever grateful. I'm Jenny Kilburn, and I'll see you next week.